I suppose, actually, his question is for whoever wants it, perhaps Ms. Araro, or perhaps others of you as well. The nation's capital, where we are as I speak, sits on the banks of two rivers, the Potomac River and the Anacostia River. It's interesting that the framers built this capitol on a hill. Maybe they they had some understanding of what might be coming a couple of hundred years later. We've already had to build a levee, the 17th Street levee, because among the low points, perhaps the lowest point is downtown Washington, where the Federal Triangle is, and you will see buildings or agencies there, such as the Justice Department and the IRS. Well, people don't like to see the IRS coming, but they certainly don't want it flooded because we're just going to have to pay for it. About 10 years ago, there was a serious flood here. Constitution Avenue was underwater. I recall distinctly that the National Archives, where some of our most precious documents are housed, was underwater. They then have used a self-rising wall for downtown Washington. This thing is coming so fast. I'm interested in the use of non-polluting vehicles. I drive a hybrid. I'm very interested, if I can, to get to the point where I buy an electric car. But some of them have, for example, we are having in this city, the District of Columbia, will use the notion of a rebate where you pay more based on the emissions generated by the automobile that you have, and you get a rebate if you don't have as many emissions. So I'd like to know how effective, because these things are beginning to catch on not only here but around the country, how effective are these rebates or fines virtually in encouraging the use of low-emission vehicles? Is it going to be sufficient to have an effect as climate change comes upon places like the nation's capital so quickly? Are we running out of time, or do these really make a difference, particularly when some of these cars cost more than cars that pollute, use gas that pollute?
So thank you, Congresswoman. And indeed, our center at Georgetown, where you also teach, I know, works with Tommy Wells and his staff here on resilience to the impacts of climate change that the district is already seeing, including in Ward 7, which is already experiencing flooding from rain events. As Tommy Wells believes, I believe in electric vehicles as part of the solution. I drive a Bolt. It's been terrific. It's my first American car that I've ever bought, and it was more expensive than cars that I've bought in the past. So I do think it's a case where a rebate makes a difference in the upfront cost of it, even though over the course of the lifetime, that cost, is actually less than a gasoline vehicle. And DC actually gets a shout out in my testimony in the longer version of it, because you do have what's known as a fee-bait kind of program in practice, where people who buy and drive gas guzzlers subsidize the purchase of those more efficient vehicles. And that could be a model for the country, I think.
And I'd like to just add
Yes,
to it,
sir.
because this is one of my favorite policies, this idea of fee-baits, because you can make it revenue neutral, so there's no burden on taxpayers at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's simply a trade from people that are buying the gas guzzlers. And in fact, we have a gas guzzler, and it's been in place since 1975, but it's only on cars, and it's only for the most inefficient cars. So this is not a new idea, at least on the fee side of it. So I think this is an outstanding way of using market forces to accomplish an environmental goal.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. We'll now recognize Mr. Lynch for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I want to, as well, thank the witnesses. You've been terrific with your testimony, and I appreciate you helping the committee with its work this morning. Recently, in the latest worldwide threat assessment of the U.S. intelligence